Hello and welcome to Fearless Authenticity with me, Jeanne Sparrow. This is my podcast about finding your success in the gift of who you truly are. Now, these are all conversations with people that know what that looks and feels like. And I do this in the hopes that this will be an inspiration for us all to find different ways, new ways, or maybe start using our unique gifts in pursuing our passions, making our dreams come true, and engaging with the world in the way that we were created to serve. As I always say, I hope this gets deep because that is where we find the best stuff. But it is also about the fun in life, because if it ain't fun, it ain't worth doing. So let's dare to be brave, be free, be you together. Now, my guest today is a celebrity fitness trainer, health and nutrition expert, podcast host, TV host and contributor, and the author of the new book, The Minimum Method, and also 365 health and fitness hacks that could save your life. He was named the best trainer in Chicago by the Chicago Sun-Times and has been listed among the top 3 favorite celebrity trainers. You have seen him on Good Morning America, Live with Kelly and Ryan, The Today Show, and everywhere else, including publications like Men's Health, NPR, People Magazine, and so many more. He is a proud husband and father, and he's also an advocate for good health inside and out. He has been one of my favorite guests to have on, so it is an honor and a privilege and pleasure to welcome one of my favorite people, Joey Thurman, to the Fearless Authenticity podcast. Hey, Joey.
How about that for a hype woman? Yes.
Listen, that is my job in life, my friend.
Yeah, hype me up, Jeanne. Hype me up. I mean, we can just stop the recording now. I'm good to go. Like I'm pulling a George Costanza. I'm going to say something funny. I'm out of here.
You know, I never got to introduce people the way I liked to when I was on TV, because it takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And I learned that from all the comedians that I've worked with. It's like, if you don't set somebody up, you got to tell people, like, this is who you're talking to. This is who you're listening to. But congratulations on the new book, The Minimum Method. I got to share this story because this is how this whole thing came up. I've been watching you post about the book coming out and everything. And we've run into each other a couple of times since I had the old show. Mm-hmm. But there was one thing you posted that made me sit up and go, yes, Joey, yes. It was one of your posts where you said, I'm gonna read this. Hold up, let me find it. Uh-oh. You look like you feel amazing. Mm. And you talked about how the minimum changes in how we speak to others, and I'm assuming ourselves too, can have a maximum benefit, and how we look beyond the outside to the inside. That struck a chord with me. And your book is all about this, like maximum benefit with the minimum methods, working smarter, not harder, and things like that. What is it that brought you to this? Because this is a shift for you, I'm feeling.
Yeah, it's a massive shift. I mean, I even apologize in the beginning of the book for the entire fitness and nutrition industry, diet industry. We can go down the line there, diet culture, all that sort of stuff. But I apologize for myself as a 23-year-old, 24-year-old brand new trainer, fitness expert. And I thought that we needed to like crush every single workout and train people so hard where they can't sit down to go to the bathroom. And, you know, like they have everyday lives. And I'm sorry for those people who I did that to. And because I didn't know enough, that I wanted to make you feel out of shape. I wanted to make you vomit. I wanted to make you out of breath the entire hour. So you needed me. That was insecurity. So we are fed all this sort of stuff in these exertainment classes with the bright lights and the great. So you're exercising, you're not training. And those are 2 big differences. Talk to an athlete about training and talk to somebody else about exercising. Exercising is great. Don't get me wrong. Sweating and just moving to move. Amazing. But when you're training for a purpose and you're training for a job, training for life, training for anything else, like there's a path along the way that you need to hit these goals. So I just kind of stopped during COVID after like a 3-month really bad depression and just realized, okay, what am I doing and how can I maximize all of these things in my life with sleep and nutrition and family and being with my son and wife and all that sort of stuff with minimal amount of time. Doesn't mean minimal or simple is easy. Sometimes the things in life that we need to do are hard, and doing the hard things in life will make life easy. But there are some things in life like hugging my son, which is amazing. And that's easy. That's easy to do and makes me feel good. So we need to sprinkle in the hard. We need to push the boundaries just a little bit, but not all of the time, because you're not a professional athlete. And even them, They have off weeks. They have off games. They don't pitch every single day. We can keep going with all these analogies. And that makes so much sense once you break it down for people. So instead of somebody saying like, God, you look like you lost bunch of weight. You look amazing. You look like you feel amazing. Watch their face and stop and just let that sink in. Like, oh, thank you. And then they stop and think, you know what? I do feel amazing. That right there, just changing how you speak to people, changing how you speak to yourself will do a lot. My buddy Everard Castman, who's an NBC anchor, and I'm going to throw him out here. He comes into the gym mode that I run in the West Loop. He comes in every day. He's, oh, I'm tired and whatever. And I said, bro, like you've been here for like 6 weeks and now you're a main nighttime anchor. Like good for you. You've got 3 kids, but don't walk into the gym being tired and exhausted because you're going to hate going into it. If you walked into NBC hating it, and don't get me wrong, NBC, he loves it. If you walked in, like you're automatically setting yourself up before you walk in the door for a bad day. So now he's only in there 20, 30 minutes a day. I said, don't be in here too long. Just get in, get out, do X, Y, and Z and leave. And he texted me on the way here. Actually, that's why he's in my mind. He's like, wow, I feel so much better. And I'm getting results from 20 minutes in the gym.
I love so much in there.
That was a lot. That's a big answer. Sorry.
No, I love big answers because, I'm gonna do like the kids say, I'm gonna unpack it now.
Okay. Unpack it.
Because you said something that I repeat all the time. And that is that just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. Mm-hmm. It is also worth it. And sometimes the simplest things are where those answers are for us. What was the simple thing that brought you to that moment? And have you gotten pushback from your colleagues, in essence, for calling out these issues? Because to me, that's a really simple thing that you just said. Mm-hmm. It's complicated. It's something that needs to be teased out, I'm sure, on a lot of different levels, especially when you work in the industry. But for you, what was the simplest moment that made you say, this has got to change? And was it the pandemic? Because it sounds like that was part of it, at least. Yeah,
I mean, that's the catalyst. And along the way, I was, starting to realize, like, do I really need to be pushing myself this hard? Do I need to, get 100% in everything and 100% plus 100%? Like, you keep adding 100%. That's not how a pie chart works. Like, it's only 100%, like 110% effort. No, I'm sorry. That's not math. That's not how math works. Like, come on, we all know
the math ain't mathing.
Yeah, the math ain't working. But yeah, so during COVID, we ended up selling our condo in Ukraine and moving in with my in-laws, and we're still there. By the way, market went a little crazy. We just needed to find a place, and then I had this victim mentality for a lot. Like, lost 6 figures from being able to travel, and lost multi-millions of dollars for this fitness concept we had, and all sorts of stuff. So after I got over the woe is me and started realizing, like, let me just do like little workouts. I got 10 minutes. Let me go in the garage and do some bicep curls. Let me just go for a walk after my meals, and just a walk to move and for my mind, because I'm very open with depression since I was 14. And once I started doing those little things, people started telling me, and I wasn't doing this on purpose for my body. So, what are you doing? I'm like, actually, I'm doing less. Like, what do you mean you're doing less? Like, I'm actually not doing as much cardio. I'm not weight training as much. Or if I do, it's 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. But it's with a purpose. It's with an intent to do so. Regulating my sleep, all is getting more sunlight. All these things started just affecting my overall mood. And then I could appreciate my son. And then all of a sudden, Beachbody approached me. I did my own program, and they paid me a good amount of money, which held me over for a while. So all these things started coming to me once I started opening up my mind and realizing that I didn't need to go so hard so fast. Because at one point pre-pandemic, I had 7 jobs. It was crazy. And those were the ones I was getting paid for, not to mention everything else. I'm like, okay, this is nuts. Because I was spread so thin. And eventually, like, it was going to break. And I had that breaking point once I was kind of forced to shut down and stay inside, basically. And I guess that was more of the catalyst. And I was, it just pushed me over the edge, if you will. And then I just had to reassess my life.
One thing that I appreciate about, especially where you are now, because I had no idea the years that you came on You and Me, and the times that, we've talked, following you on social media, I had no idea that you struggled with anxiety and depression. That you were nervous when you came into the studio. Mm-hmm. Like I saw one of the interviews you did, I think it was with Thurman, where you said, I'm nervous every time I walk into a studio. I had no idea.
Terrified.
Really? What made you decide to stop hiding all of that? Because this is such a fearless authenticity moment. Because like one of the things I talk about with fearless authenticity is, how who we are is the gift that we have, and all the things that we are, all of our identities, all of our experiences, all of those things are things that we bring to the people that are around us and somehow enrich us. And that's a lot of what you've been talking about through this book and with your work, especially since your TEDx talk. So what was that turning point moment for that, where you decided to stop hiding your truth and instead live in it and share it? Because I imagine that had to be an extraordinary amount of energy to hide that as well. And I'm usually really good at picking up that stuff. I was like, Joey?
Yeah, I can put on a fake face, no problem. Until I get home. And then as we know, when we get home, like your loved ones get like the shit version of you. I mean, like think about it, because we have to pretend, you have to go on TV, whatever. Like you can't be like, oh, what, like, so I think the TEDx was a little bit kind of a stepping stone towards that. And then when I booked the Thurman Hall, the first one that I did, about the depression and anxiety, and then I started embracing it. I started thinking about all these things that people tell you, which I feel like they think they should say, like, oh, I'm sad today, it's okay, it'll get better. Like, oh, like all these just things, and like, I don't feel great, well, tomorrow's another day. All these things we've just been regurgitating for years. Or, I feel bad, just thinking it'll be better. Or don't worry. Like, what do you mean? When's the last time someone told you not to worry and all of a sudden your worry just went away? So I started thinking about all these sort of things. So I started a little bit on my stories, kind of piecing that together when Instagram stories came out, and then putting little bits of the TED Talk, chopping that up and using that for content. I hate that word. Anyways. So then people started responding to that more and more. And I started dabbling, posting more of like, hey, I've suffered with depression. I don't want to post every post, like, here's Joey the depressed guy again. I mean, it's great engagement. You know what I mean? So I had to kind of battle that sort of stuff. And then it was the messages and the DMs and people coming up to me, even like you, that have known me for years, that had no idea about what I was going through. And then I said something on my story one time, like, oh, I'm really nervous or whatever to go on. And whether it's a local show, a show in Indianapolis, or a national show, the nerves are pretty similar.
Interesting.
But I said something like, oh, I'm nervous. And people are like, oh, don't be nervous. You're going to be great. And I stopped and thought, like, you know what? I'm going to be nervous because that means I care about this. It means I'm alive. I care about what's about to happen. I remember the first show I was ever on is Good Day Chicago, which you're very, very familiar with on Fox. And I thought, I'm going to go on the show and be famous. One time, that's it. One local show, and boom, I'm set. It's not like it was Oprah. So I was so freaked out. I told my wife going on, I said, if I ever forget this feeling right now, what a big deal it is to go on television, I need you to remind me what a big deal it is to go on TV. So I knocked out of the park, and then they had me on as a regular, and then, you picked me up, and then all these people started seeing me. And like, I think 5 segments in, I don't know if it was, honestly, it might've been on your show. You guys wanted me to like prep like a whole like cooking segment or whatever. I'm like, oh my God, they want me to do all this sort of stuff and make all this food and bring this in, and Maria stopped and looked at me. She was like, really? You're like 5 segments into doing TV and you're already complaining about it? And that's the last time I complained about it, because she called me out the first time it happened. And hundreds and hundreds of segments I haven't counted alone, after that, I've never had that thought again. I've never had, even if it's like Allentown, Pennsylvania, and this tiny little station, which is kind of cool, tucked away in the mountains, by the way. It was hills, if you will. It was still a big deal for me. I'm a little more seasoned and I can embrace it and things like that. But Thurman Hall, the depression one, was like the biggest thing I ever did on a national stage, because like people really didn't know. And I didn't realize on that show, I wasn't just going on the show. Everybody that was with me during my suicidal period when I was 14 years old, everybody came on the show with me. And I did not realize that. And the night before, and I've never told anybody about this until right now, I was checking to see if the window would open on the 18th floor in Manhattan, because I was so just freaked out and started realizing what I was about to do.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. And like, I was an ass to my wife on the phone, like, which is not a nice person, because all of this pressure was coming up. And back to my original point, I was able to show her all of me and all the anger and then the anxiety and all that. And she didn't deserve it at that time, but she just happened to be the person that was taking the punches, you know? So then when I went on the show, and then it turned out to be a very good thing and helped a lot of people, I guess that's where that was. It was a lot.
Yeah. Because when you revisit those moments, you know, like I think about because I had anxiety for the first time in my life during the pandemic after I lost my dad. I, you know, lost a lot of business. And I was fairly open about talking with it because I just didn't, I was like, what the actual fuck? Like, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
This is crazy. And it has been an interesting journey, right? Back to what, and it's, I can't even say back to a different place that is peaceful or what have you, because you can't go back to where you were, even though moments will take you back to those moments. And it sounds like that was some of what was going on for you right before Tamron, for you to even have those thoughts again, because those feelings come back and you remember what it was like, and it takes you back, just like when you smell like, so, you know, something cooking in that your mom always made that you love. It takes you right back to where you were standing the first time you smelled it, the first time you tasted it. And and then you're super vigilant about it. And if you allow yourself to have those feelings, that is the realest gift you can give yourself and anybody else. But it takes a lot of courage. And sometimes you don't even know where that courage is going to come from. Like, okay, am I going to do it? Am I not? Like, I have whole conversations with myself when I revisit those moments. It's like, is it going to win this time? Or not? And is it even a win-loss situation? So I get some of what you're talking about. But through it all though, Joey, I feel like I always feel the love for what you do. And I think that that's the thing that has always been consistent for me with watching you and also having you on and things like that. And even as you shared new and different things about yourself, it is clear that you have a love for what you do. You have also come to terms with how it's shifting. You just turned 40. I don't know if that played into it as well, or being a dad. You know, you're still in the early years, because Frederick is what, 3?
Yeah. Oh no, he's a 5-year-old now. And he's huge, by the way. Like, I don't know when this comes out, but yeah, he's 5 and he's 47 inches tall, and I'm 6'3". So if people he's right below my ribs. He's almost 4 feet. He's the height of a 6-year-old. He's been this height for months on end. He's just a massive child. Speaks Greek, English. He's been able to read for over a year. Like, he just got up in preschool, started reading a book, and his teacher's like, "Wait, you know how to read?" It's like, "Yeah." like
why do you?
Yeah, like, so Maria is brilliant, and she spent lots of time with him, and you could tell when somebody's able to like sit there and have the help, because we're still with my in-laws, and she can sit there and nurture him and teach him and do all these things. But so 40. And being the dad was really, I have a very short fuse, which a lot of people don't realize. I'm kind of an angry person at times. You're learning all sorts of stuff about me. Okay. Like, somebody would cut me off, I'd go like almost road rage. Well, pretty much, I would road rage. I would yell, and then once, I think I really felt, well, we didn't know he was a boy or a girl at the time, him kick inside of Maria. We were calling him Nugget, so we didn't know, like, hey, little Nugget. It's like, oh, whoa, there's a human in here, and we're responsible for a life. I can't go off the rails, meathead wacky anymore. I used to cuss at people when I was training at that, one independent gym in Chicago, to yell at trainers, because I think, there were a bunch of them were idiots, and they still are. The ones that I was yelling at, it's fine. It's okay. People get it. But, like, I can't yell across the gym anymore, 20,000 square feet. I can't cuss at somebody for not putting stuff away or being rich. It's like, I need to chill out. So I think, the moment I realized, wow, I am actually going to be responsible for a human life, I need to start reassessing myself. And then when he came out, like, I would say children are the purest form of whatever, if you believe in God or whatever, they are just pure light. They have no darkness in them, because we haven't had a chance to mess them up yet. So they come out, and like, everything they see is new and brand new. And it just, like, imagine if we did that as adults. Everything you saw, like, you're in Hawaii, you stop, I'm like, wow, look at that. I haven't seen the tree. Like, I just stop and think. When you see something new, have that anchor and have that moment of how beautiful this is. And I started looking at him and realizing, wow, look at all of these opportunities. And if he messes up, and I mentioned this in the book, that if he messes up, he always has an opportunity to rewrite his story, to write a new chapter, to pick up that proverbial pin. And there was a book that we used to read to him as a kid called What Would Danny Do? It's like Danny messes up, and then you pick what he would do, good or bad, and you switch the chapter. So I referenced that in the book. So I started looking at just life much differently when he came out, and Maria's put lots of things into perspective with me being humbled, losing a bunch of money, all this sort of stuff. It sort of happened all at once. I got smacked in the face with one of those massive foam fingers back and forth.
Interesting. Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I always ask people about their challenges and setbacks. And, you've found extraordinary success by many measures. And it sounds like you've also been knocked flat on your ass. What have you learned from those particular moments, especially because, we talk a lot about, as entrepreneurs, about failing forward. That was one of the hardest transitions I had to make. And I talk about that a lot on this podcast. Because especially when you work in the business that I have, like in radio and television, it really is all about, your ratings and winning and, all these different things. And so you get used to achievement. You get very used to having those wins and that dopamine rush every day. And I would imagine training may have some elements of that as well. So, but when you become an entrepreneur and when you're trying to make things happen and doing these deals and stuff like that, inevitably things fall apart. Inevitably things don't work out. And the best piece of advice and the most repetitive piece of advice, and because I didn't realize it was the best advice when I first heard it, was learning how to fail forward, learning from these failures instead of getting stuck in them. And you talked about this a little bit earlier about being stuck in that victimhood, and letting yourself have that moment, but then figuring out how to fail forward, how to deal with setbacks. After this big, what was that challenge for you, if you feel comfortable sharing it? And have you developed a strategy for whatever the little setbacks or the big ones that could be around the bend since then?
Yeah. So one, I love the failing forward thing. You show me someone that says they haven't failed before, and I'll show you a liar. Everybody's failed. There's no overnight successes. Like literally, it doesn't happen. But I failed many a times, and the 40-year-old thing, the dad thing, all this sort of stuff. Like it kind of keeps coming back with that. It's like almost like leading with my heart now. And I always say that I wanted to find my purpose in life, or your why, if you will. And that's great to say that, but what's the path to your why? How are you going to get to that? It's amazing to have that. And so now my purpose is for my son to be able to say, that's my dad. Not that he's on TV, he's done all these sort of things, but like, that is my father. Like, what a good man he is. He taught me to do this and everything else. So one thing that we teach him is, and I think that anybody, like old, young, but what you can really tell your kids or grandkids, if they're aware of their emotions and able to process all of their emotions, and like, it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to hit. It's okay to be sad. It's not okay to, lash out and whatever at other people because you're sad, project whatever. You can, if you're just aware of them. So when Frederick gets upset, say, hey buddy, it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to yell and scream or hit somebody, or like, if you need to like punch a pillow, fine. Like, so just embrace all those. So I started embracing all of these parts of myself, and I worked with a life coach for a while, and realizing that it's okay to realize when I fail and when I hate myself, to love that I hate myself. Like, how messed up does that sound? But once you stop and think about it, we're all going to have these negative emotions that often we don't say. Like, the worst thing you could ever say about yourself internally, like we don't express that externally. But yeah, I hate myself at times. I hate who I am when I look in the mirror. I also love who I am. I'm amazing at what I do. I'm brilliant in many facets of life. I thought I was going to be a TV host for a living. Like, I was on that route, and there's a particular company that I was doing stuff for a while, and that kind of didn't work out. So anyways, like, things just stopped. And then I realized, okay, I need to create a new job for myself, a new life. I didn't think I was going to go back to personal training. And then I had all these clients contacting me. I didn't want to go back to a gross personal training gym because sorry if you own one, but a lot of them are not taken care of and they're not as nice as like a membership gym. So I sent an email to the owner of Mode Gym in the West Loop and basically like, hey, I want to create a job for myself. I think I can help you. I think I can help your communications. I think I can help your trainers. I sent a bio, I sent the TV reel, which always helps when they see the TV reel. And he's like, I've never taken a meeting with somebody until I saw your name. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, I know who you are. I can't afford you as a trainer. I said, great. I want to be a trainer. I want to head up your media and do communications. I want to be your personal training director. I want to help you expand to multiple of these locations. He's like, I'll tell you what, I'll let you train here for free. You'll be the personal training director and we're going to expand with you. And you're basically going to be a figurehead. So I created a job for myself that was not a role. And now we're moving forward and there's some, he would yell at me if I specifically said, but there's some very good potential opportunities. It gets at a beautiful space and it's a little bougie, which I'm good with. And
well, honey, that's what comes at 40.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Comfort. You going for comfort, not speed, friend.
So I created my own job, and I love what I do. And, the TV thing, if it doesn't happen, fine. But he's like, hey, you can still write more books. You can do whatever TV you want. I'm sure if like somebody's like, hey, you need to move to LA, he's not going to let me do that. But at the same time, he likes when I'm doing all this sort of stuff because I'm representing them, as a brand. So I'm able to create this job for myself and still do the television and the media things, because now I don't want to go on TV just to go on TV anymore. Like, woohoo, I want on TV. Now, what's my purpose for going on this particular program? Is it to sell the book? Is it to bring more media to Mode? What is it? So what's the purpose? I'm not just like going on because producers like me having on because I do great television. I need to have that purpose every time. And it's okay that I'm saying no, because your yes will never be as powerful until you learn to say no.
That's right there, brother.
That's good.
That's a truth. That is
podcast truth. Over. We're good to go.
No, we're not done yet. We have more to talk about because things like that open doors for me. Right. Because what I like about this is that it was a process. That it was a moment and a process. Because I think a lot of times we don't see these turning points in our lives. Mm-hmm. We don't see the moment when we decided to shift things. When and until after it's already done, and the thing that's interesting about this is that I feel this is a story you are still writing. Mm-hmm. And I love that open-endedness of it. And I also like that because this is one thing I talk about with fearless authenticity all the time. There is a moment when you realize that you are out of alignment. And then, with how you're working and how you're doing things. And that was very clear from, what you were doing pre-pandemic, especially. But then there's a moment when somehow it falls into place and falls into alignment. And, we talk about flow and how it just kind of makes it happen. And so often we fight flow because we're taught that we're supposed to fight hard for things, that we're supposed to work. I mean, not that you don't work hard, but you're supposed to like go through these things to get this stuff. And if you don't, then you've not paid your dues and you don't deserve it. And that's how you end up looking in the mirror and saying you hate yourself because it's based on what other people think. How much has that played into your life especially as somebody who's lived a good portion of your career in the public sphere, not working for organizations, but coming to be on them, like for television shows and things like that. How much has other people's opinions weighed into what choices you've made in the past, and how is that different now?
I'd say tremendously. When social media started coming out, and then I was kind of forced to go on, so I was training some WWE superstars and like, oh, Instagram, whatever. I'm like, oh, what is this? And they were posting. And honestly, I should have embraced it then because it would have blown up because I would have got on the bandwagon earlier, but whatever. I'm not salty about it at all. So that, and then I started kind of focusing more on what people thought I should be, create this brand. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm a person. What's a brand? What does that mean? That's why the TED Talk was called like me, follow me, unbrand me. It was all these expectations that like they were creating this like hypothetical goals that I had to keep hitting. But once I got towards that goal, then they raised the bar and they raised the bar, like, or then never hit it. Like, keep climbing. So I started listening a lot to that, everybody else, what they think I should do. And then I was like, okay, so I'm an influencer, right? But who am I actually influencing? those people in my life that I can touch, that I can feel, that have my phone number, that's who I want to be an influence to, and stop listening to everybody else, because it's great for people to like, oh, Joey, it's great. You should do this or move here or do that, because you only see me for 10 minutes or 20 minutes. But what happens in the back end? Like, I can't just pick up and move to LA. I have a wife. I have a kid. She has her family here. You can't just do that. So it's easy just to give this unsolicited advice for people that you're not directly involved in their life. And I was listening to a lot of them. And then once I just sort of, it's like, okay, let me hone in and start figuring things out, quit training, stop doing the podcast, got the book deal. It sort of just started falling into place once I really started listening to the people that I cared for most. Like, you know, somebody in my family gets sick, like, who's going to be there for me? I'm upset, like, who's going to be there for me? If I go off on the rails on somebody and they're going to say, it's okay, I love you, who's going to be there for me? Those people. Now, like, when I think I've said the story before, I went to, my buddy's high up with CNN, an executive producer, and this was actually the first Tamron Hall appearance. I was supposed to meet him that night, and I sent him a text. I was like, Javi, like, I don't have it in me to go to dinner tonight. And me before, I would have lied, I would have made stuff up, I got to wait for my COVID test, my flight's late, whatever. He texts me back, he goes, it's okay, boo, I still love you. That is a true friend.
Yep.
When you can speak your mind and say, I just don't have it in me. I haven't seen you in a year. I know I'm 6 blocks from you, but I just need to sit in my hotel room. It's okay, I love you. And the same thing, like somebody else, another producer friend of mine, I kind of got upset recently. Let's just say they were going to have me on the show and they unbooked me. So it's like, I left him a voice note. I was like, hey, I'm speaking to you as a friend right now. And I just went off, because they don't ever hear the other side of the authors, like what their massive show could do for me. And they unbooked me. And he got back to me. He's like, I understand. I'm sorry. I know you're coming from a place like this is your livelihood and everything else. And I said, I'm sorry. Like, next day or a week later, I apologized to him. He goes, it's okay, I understand. So, like, those are the people that I'm listening to. Those are the people that I want to be influenced by. And generally that's Maria and my son in-laws, since I'm, living with them, and then parents, I go down the line. So, I don't know. I think I've answered lots of things there, so you can unpack that.
I think that it's very clear what you're saying. And I think it's something we all need to hear, because we all, I think, struggle with social media on some level, because it has its high points, it has its good that it can do, and it also does damage. And it's seductive, right? It's a very seductive thing, and you have to be very clear about and it's back to what you said about your purpose, even with regular media, with broadcast media. What is my purpose for doing this? What happens if I do this? What happens if I do this? Like, I'll give you a good for instance, and this is something that I have been trying to figure out how to write about, because I find it really interesting. I posted a birthday selfie, like a little video, like a little sound or whatever. And because I was at the beach, whatever, but my little boobies was out. I have this because I had on a swimsuit. Mm-hmm. I have this whole new section of followers now that only are following because my little boobies was out. And at least that's my assumption, because
they're like worthy, they're follow worthy.
Apparently, but that's not most of my content. So
that shirt, follow worthy boobies. you can use that. Carry on. It's fine. It's your show. You keep going.
I appreciate that. But it's interesting though, because I do think, if I was in a different place, right, that I would be like, oh, the only thing people want from me is this. This is when I get attention. And I'm just kind of like, well, listen, if y'all come here and follow me and you've looked through these other videos, you see that this is not, OnlyFans, but I am a whole human being. Like, you are going to see me, and I want to look nice sometimes. And I do accept compliments and these things. That is not the core of everything, but I understand now how it is easy to chase that, because it's very seductive from the other side of it. It's like, oh, I'm liked. Oh, yeah. I am this. And you have struggled with body dysmorphia, which I also didn't know until I read about it. And I would imagine that part because your work is your body as well. And then there's this other that other shade of social media where people are coming just because of the titillation value of it. How have you changed your relationship with social media and maintained this beautiful authenticity that you show on a regular basis, and that is also a legitimate, authentic part of your life as well, without getting caught up into it?
Yeah, I always come from the lens of, if and when my son sees this, am I going to be embarrassed? Am I going to be proud? Like, that's like literally, I could keep coming back, and it's literally keep coming back to him. And when his friends see this, and yeah, I did some naked photo shoots, so Google image me, but it was like ESPN body, right? You know, from the side. And even before him, this is way before him, I was like, you're doing a like naked photo shoot? I'm like, yeah, but it's not like Playgirl. It's not full. It's like literally from the side and athletic. And I'd be proud of that. It's beautiful pictures.
I love the body issue. Like,
yeah,
because I like
right.
seeing bodies in action. And I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why we have this thing about our bodies so much, especially in the US. But
yeah. So I think that was sort of a little bit there. And then looking at it from that lens, or, you know, it's like there's a window. Like, if somebody's looking in your window in your house, you're okay. Are they going to be okay seeing that? And so I sort of think about things from that point. I'm not always shirtless. I understand like shirtless things, and like there's a time and place when it makes sense for me to, like, I'm working out, I'm showing something, I'm showing the muscles working, but at the same time, it's good clickbait. But I'm not always that guy. Even when I went on Watch What Happens Live as a bartender, I was told, like, oh, you're going to do shirtless? I said, absolutely not. Like, no, you should. And I said, no, I'm not doing shirtless.
You look good in a suit, though, man.
Oh yeah, I could rock that.
I mean, you was looking good.
I can rock a suit. So I work out to look good naked, yes, but also to look good in clothes. Once again, change the mindset. So I did that, and like, if that's the only reason they want me on, then like maybe we have to have a conversation. But the book, The Minimum Method, is not a book to look like me. So when I'm posting now, I kind of always come from that, and that has helped me out tremendously. And I stopped like making sure I post at 7 a.m. or 9 a.m. where these people can get, and I'll just post. And then sometimes, like, yes, I'm like, oh, this is a great, highly curated post, and this didn't do as well as this dumb one of me. Should I shave or should I not shave? Like TikTok, I gave up at life. So if you want to see me giving up at life, check out my TikTok page at Joey Thurman Fit. Shameless plug. It's like, should I shave? Should I not shave? 30,000 views. This highly edited, whatever anatomy thing. It's like 500 views. Like, really, me shaving 30,000.
It keeps you humble, doesn't it?
It does.
It keeps you humble. It's like you put effort toward things, and these are the things that are like the essence of who you are. And people are like, meh.
Yeah.
But then this other thing that is also the essence of who you are as a human being, that everybody's like, yeah, that's it. And you did. It was absolutely no. It cracks me up how social media reveals who we are to ourselves, not just to other people.
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, watching everybody's lives inside of a toilet. Like, it's just a big shit show. I've never used that analogy. That's great. I should things just come out of this mouth.
I love it. And I love that you recognize that is great, because it is. Because I'm like, that's a good one, and that's pretty accurate. But there's a lot of good stuff in that toilet bowl. Yeah,
there's a lot of good stuff. You know, like it's opened doors for me. A lot of these TV shows that I book are connecting with producers, and I've met very good friends from social media. At the same time, you know, I used to have a hate-love relationship with it. Now it's a love-hate relationship. I think there's some things like, you know, we're not getting into that with like children and stuff that we should definitely avoid. But yeah, I do use it for a specific purpose now, and for a business, except for the giving up on life and TikTok. But yeah.
Giving up on life. So, you know, one other thing I want to talk about when it comes to that is the balance between living a public life and being private. And this is something that even that happens on a different level, because when I talk about fearless authenticity, I always get people who push back and say things like, oh, well, I can't be my full self at work. You can't do that at work, or I don't want to do that at work. And, you know, and I always argue, look, when I say fearless authenticity, I mean that it's not about letting everything hang out as much as it is about bringing and letting your entire experience inform how you show up. You don't have to tell everybody everything. And for everybody, that line is very different. For some people, it is letting everything hang out or letting everything about one particular aspect hang out. So how for you do you define the line and hold, or maybe hold that space is a better word, between what you share and what is private for you?
Yeah, so I say I'm an open book with closed chapters.
I like that.
Like, you're never going to see my son, ever. Like, he's real. He's not on social media, so he's not real. And he's real. You maybe randomly will see the back of his head. You'll very little see my wife, but she's so private. So I think that's one of the reasons why it works for me, because I'm so public facing. So there's a lot of things we choose. Like, he's going to kindergarten next year and we got to fill out a form. Like, you can't just randomly post him and you had to fill out a form for people not to post your child, which I think is asinine, by the way. Like, the kindergarten could just post your kids if you don't fill out a form. Yeah, I've got.
It seems like it should be.
It should be the way.
It
should be the way. Yeah. So, anyways, so like that sort of stuff. Maybe when he's older, like, I know that he's gonna show up on friends' social media. I know that sort of stuff. I get that, and I love seeing my friends' kids. Don't get me wrong, but for me, I'm very much in the public eye, and people are creepy. So I don't need to know. Like, they don't need to know where we go to the park and where he does this and where, like, in a timely manner. Like, he breaks his arm. Hopefully, he doesn't. Like, and I post immediately because he's in the hospital, because it's good content, instead of me caring for my child. And like, I need to make sure I get a post of him, like, in the hospital. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that to me is like disgusting, by the way. And I don't care if you did that. It's like, take care of your child first. Don't be the first thing you do, take a picture of them when they're in pain, whatever. So moving on. So that open book, closed chapters, and then just realizing that since Maria's not out there, and I'm so much, that's why I think it works for us. Because God forbid she was like me. Oh my God. We got, like, I see people and, like, these influencer couples and things, like, they're no longer living. You go to Hawaii and, like, let's do this. Let's post this. Let's do that. And they're doing that the whole time. And you're not really living. You're not enjoying it. You're living it through your phone or through, some fancy camera. And that, to me, and if that's your thing, amazing. But to me, sometimes I don't always want to have to record everything or be the guy recording every single birthday present he has. I like having that for later on. That's great. But I feel like you don't fully embrace the moment.
No.
If you just got the phone in your hand or the camera in your hand the whole time. So I guess that's kind of how I'm handling things.
I'll say this, as somebody who spent a good portion of my life on television or behind a microphone and things like that, that's the reason why social media was very difficult for me at the beginning too, because I was like, I already do this. Like, why would I do this on my free time? Why? And then I started seeing it as a tool, and it became easier to deal with. But yeah, I think that depending on how you've come to it, you can have a very different experience with it. What is one thing that you have learned or have had to learn how to love about yourself?
I love that I have many versions of myself, but I don't think we are one person. I think we're many people in different situations. I mean, to your point of, like, letting it all hang out at work. Why can't you be your work self? Why can't you be your home self? Why can't you be your sad self? Why can't you be, the daughter, the sister, the brother, the whatever? Why can't you have many versions? You don't have schizophrenia. It's okay. Like, you can be all these different versions, and people like, you got to be professional, and you can joke around a little bit, and then all of a sudden you go out with your colleagues and they see this different version of you, because you're trying to stay within your work lane. So I think that's how it's really helped me, because people are like, I've never saw that. Well, I'm not going to post everything. I'm not going to show you everything. And you've known me for years. And the first time I went on your show was 2000.
8, 9,
I don't know.
10,
Yeah, something like
11?
that. 10, 11-ish. Yeah, whatever. Something like that.
Yeah.
And then, like, you got little slivers of me, and I do some contributor stuff for you guys. But is that me really? So, I mean, it's my TV, Joey. And in TV, you and me, Joey, is different than Men's Health, Joey. Right. Different than Dad, Joey. Different than Today's Show. Let's curl wide bottles because it's good TV. And I know people aren't going to be curling it. They're just going to be curling it to their mouth. but it's good television. So I'm coming from the lens of like, okay, they want to be entertained right now. Okay, so boom, wine bottle crawling. Men's health, okay, be a little more serious, like a little more anatomy. Go here. Hey, I'm trying to sell a book. They want me to do a demonstration, even though my book is not a fitness book. There's only one chapter on fitness. How can I fit in? Like, oh, there's a weekday diet there. There's this, like maybe on a podcast, like your podcast. I just fit that in there. Look at that. See that? So like these little things, you learn to kind of slip that in there and be these different versions of yourself. And I think it's okay to have many versions as long as you're aware of every single version of yourself and honest with those people that influence you. So I go home and say, if I'm having a bad day, I'm being sad, like Maria, I don't know what's going on right now. I'm sad and I can't pinpoint it, and it's not your fault. So maybe they're a little bit more aware, but that also helps her, the other person on the other end, realize like, oh, he's being open with me. So maybe also they'll be more open with you. And it's this give and take relationship. And I'm still working on it. Believe me, I still have so many things to work on as a husband and father, and also realizing like there's gonna be times when you're going to be a shit parent. You're going to be a bad husband. And you're not going to be perfect all the time. And allowing yourself not to be perfect will push you closer to perfection.
Joey, you dropping gems today, baby.
I'm dropping gem bombs like it's my job.
Yes, indeed, you are.
That's a good one. I've never said that one either.
Listen, you can look. It came out your mouth. I will be quoting it. I will indeed be quoting it, sir.
Okay.
I'm moving into the last few questions I ask people, but before I get to those, I do want to ask you this because I think your take on it will be just as rich as the rest of our conversation. When I say the words fearless authenticity, what do they mean to you?
Oh, I think being fearless is knowing that you have fears and accepting them and being authentic towards that. I'm afraid of so many things in life, but that doesn't mean you can't push through and embrace the suck a little bit and push through and embrace that neuroplasticity in your brain where you're doing something that's hard, that challenges you. That's why kids adapt so fast. That's why they learn so fast, because their brain is essentially more plastic. So like when we are trying to learn a new language or do a new thing, like we get frustrated. Once you're able to push through that fear, then that's when your brain actually changes. And then you embrace the suck a little bit, and that suck becomes a little bit easier, and that suck becomes some sweetness. That's sweet suck. And then you've got that fearless authenticity. Sweet suck, man. All right, cool. Next.
I love it. I absolutely love it. What is your proudest achievement, and what do you still dream of doing or accomplishing?
Oh.
And it can be anything, personal, professional, however you just define it.
Yeah. Let's go back to personal. So I did actually make a post about this. When I was doing this whole media tour for the book, and I think within 2 months, I think I was home for a week or two cumulative. Like this is through Christmas or whatever. So if you got a book coming out in the holiday season, realize you're probably never going to be home for holidays. But anyways, I made it for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I sat down and I talked to Frederick, and I talked to him. We talked to him like he's an adult. I say, hey, buddy, Dad's going to be gone a lot in the next couple of months now. But sometimes we need to make short-term sacrifices for long-term gains. And just know that I love you, and we can FaceTime and be there. And he said, well, but you're still going to be with me, Dad, right? I said, what do you mean? He said, you're going to be with me in my heart. I was like, oh, my God. I just lost it. I literally lost it. And I told my wife, I'm like, did you feed this to you? And she's like, no, like this stuff comes out of his mouth. And I realized that we have nurtured this beautiful human being who cares and loves and says like, my dad, my mama, I love you and thank you so much. And when I'm older, I know you're not going to be here, but your soul is going to be with me. I'm like, oh my God.
Are you serious?
Right? Yeah. This is crazy.
I'm a mess over here. What a beautiful soul.
Yeah, he's such a beautiful child, and like he's huge, as I said, and like if a little kid like pushes him or whatever in preschool, I was like, what'd you do? And he's like, it's okay. I'm like, wow. And me, I probably would have punched him at the time or whatever. But he's this amazing human. My wife has a ton of credit for that. She's a much better person than I am. She should listen to some of these podcasts, by the way. I compliment her a lot. I should do them more than in person. Yeah, and my in-laws are beautiful people, and they're Greek, and anybody who knows like Greek people are just like amazing individuals. You don't want to cross them, but so he's really just. I was freaked out that COVID would kind of mess him up, but I think he was just young enough to like kind of not be able to remember this sort of stuff. And yeah, he's just that made me proud right there, realizing that we are raising this amazing human, and people are like, oh, he's gonna be athletic and whatever. I'm like, I don't care if he is. Like, I just don't want him to be an asshole. And that's really like I don't have that much for him that I need him to be. Just don't be an asshole. That's it. That's my prerequisite.
And I think he's far beyond that. Like
Yeah.
that, any kid who says something like that, and the fact that you've been entrusted to bring that soul into this onto this planet.
Yeah.
Whew, that's something. What do you still dream of doing or accomplishing?
Wow. I still want 7 figures in my bank account. If we're gonna go with that.
Be honest.
I said I was gonna be a millionaire by 30. That didn't happen. Millionaire by 40. Nope. By the way, people, when I do all this national TV, I actually lose money. Just so you know, I don't get paid to do that. People always think I get paid all this money. I don't. So I'll take donations. But yeah, I think that whatever I may do, and I just want to leave a lasting impression in people's lives, and whatever that looks like. I don't like go for this goal. Like I said before, I thought I was gonna be the new Ryan Seacrest, be whatever. And I am brilliant on TV. Maybe that'll happen. But at the same time, I realize that I am good at so many different things. And it's okay to acknowledge that. And you should acknowledge that. I'm brilliant on television. I'm an amazing trainer. I'm an okay husband. And I'm a good father who's going to mess up a lot. And I think just embracing all of those things, that's what I'm just excited for the future. And I know that, Mode is doing well, and I think that we will do well, and I know that I can help out. And even the owner said, like, if you need to leave at some point, we know that somebody may pull you away. Like, we just want you to have the conversation. We appreciate the time you've put in with us right now. So I've surrounded myself with people that even if I left their place of business, they're grateful for the time they've had with me. So I know that I've been surrounding myself with the right individuals, and so whatever that looks like, I don't know.
And doing the right thing. I mean, I have often said to people, I just want whatever I say or whatever people get from what I say to leave them better, or to leave them feeling better in some way, like improved or whatever. So yeah, it's up to people what they do with what you give them, and that's a really nice way of looking at accomplishing your dreams.
I'll give you a finite answer on that. I want to help a lot of people, but also make a lot of money. And those don't have to be mutually exclusive.
No, they don't. They do not. They do not, sir.
Carry on. It's your show. Okay. Let's go.
My final question. When do you feel like you are at your best, truest, most authentic expression of yourself?
You got good questions. You should be like a TV host or something. Oh man, I was trying to, honestly, I looked over some of the questions ahead of time, and this one I struggled with the most because I don't know when that is. Then, I think that's often when I'm in front of people, because like things like this, like these quotes and things, I don't write down. They just literally come to me. I think I'm very authentic when I'm just having these conversations with people that I trust. And it just comes out, and I know there's not judgment there. So I think, with you, Jeanne, that wasn't even like me just giving you shit. Like that's right. It does come out.
People you trust. It's with people you trust.
When I'm with people I trust. So there you go. Yeah, when I'm with people that I trust, I know that aren't going to judge me in a negative light for how good I'm doing or how bad I'm doing at the time.
I actually think that is the essence of what authenticity is. Like most of the answers that I've gotten from people, it usually centers around either being with people or doing things that build trust and are safe. So I am glad that you feel that way with me. And I am so honored by this conversation, Joey. I feel like I got to know you that much better, even though we've known each other over a decade, that I've gotten to know you in a way that I never anticipated. And it's a gift. So thank you.
Well, you are a gift to this planet, even though you're in Hawaii and I hate your face. How about that for ending a podcast?
That's an ending, baby. You just dropped the mic, honey. So I mentioned this already, but I have to say it again. One of my favorite things about doing these podcasts, especially with people that I've either worked with before or known, is that I get to know them a little bit better and a lot deeper. And I really love getting to know Joey. And I'm going to tell you something else. It takes a big person to publicly say that I publicly said and did these things, and I'm now moving away from that, correcting or updating what I believe, what I say. And that's where I want to start with that, because especially when, and I guess all of us are in the public eye to some degree now with our social media and things like that, but it is easier to double down on the things that we've said before than it is to change that. And I think that is a beautiful quality and also something to think about for ourselves. We are okay to change our minds, even though Joey didn't talk about that, specifically. I think you see the thread throughout everything he talks about. You know what? You can believe something very strongly at one point in time and still change your mind when something else works better, because that doesn't negate the fact that that thing was true, because it did work for you at that point. Now you found something better though, right? I also love the concept of his book. I talked about that from, the very beginning, that compliment that grabbed my attention. You look amazing. Watching our words when we compliment each other and going for the spirit of what we mean. And in the time since we talked and had this conversation, I think about the minimum method a lot and how it's a letting go of perfection. I had a really challenging time not long after I talked to Joey, and I did a post about it in my Self-Care Sunday. And I realized that some of that, some of what the minimum method does is gives you the permission to let go of the perfection, the idea that everybody, including the people who we think are perfect with their fitness or whatever else, have off times. And that's okay, because it's not about doing things perfectly, but just doing it. And there's a balance that's built into the minimum method that allows for these hard things that we have to do sometimes, that we should do to challenge ourselves. But choosing when we do those, if we have the opportunity to choose, and we don't always get the opportunity to choose when hard things come into our lives. So there's that part too. Now, I want to also talk about the use of language. Joey brought up how he looks at nervousness now. And I want to talk about two elements of that. One is how people used to tell him not to be nervous, to just go and be great. And the reality is, and this is something I talk to my clients about a lot, both of those things can be true at the same time. And that's what Joey was getting at. He knows that now. I often see my clients saying they got to choose between the two. I'm not going to be great if I'm nervous. No, you just got to find something to deal with the nervousness. And one of the things Joey does is something I recommend, is understanding what that nervousness actually means, that you care. Which is true, because that's all it is, that you care so much that you don't want to mess it up. And then if you have a way of bringing that down and understanding that you don't have to be perfect, then it kind of gets a little bit easier and the nervousness goes away. And I think that's true of any emotion, anything that stands in your way or that you see as standing in your way, right? And so it's about how other people use language and about how we use it for ourselves, the way we speak those truths into our lives. Very powerful stuff. The boundaries that Joey talks about between what's public and private, the importance of the clarity of that, I think we can all use as an example. A lot of times I talk about with fearless authenticity, it doesn't mean you have to leave things hanging out all the time. It looks different. Everything, everybody's truth, everybody's authenticity, everybody's way of expressing themselves looks different. What somebody does and is comfortable with on social media or anywhere else in public is them. And then there's your way. And all of those things can coexist in peace. And finally, I just want to say that it is beautiful to talk about where we've been, the hard things we've had. And it's really beautiful to hear men talk about the parts of themselves that they have maybe in the past been ashamed of, or the parts that they don't like, and being so open about that and the pain. You know, guys, y'all are not machines. And I always hope that even though it's hard for any of us to talk about the things we're afraid of, the support we feel we may not have if we say it, I do believe there's a lot of freedom in speaking it and releasing it, and you kind of taking your power back from that. And I think Joey's story exemplifies that. Thank you so much, Joey, for joining us and sharing so deeply, and also making me laugh. Check out Joey's latest book, The Minimum Method, and his website, joeythurman.com. Thank you. I appreciate you, my Fearless Authenticity family, for your attention and your support. I would not do this without you. I also could not do this without my amazing production team. So I thank you. Each and every one of you make this happen day in and day out. Well, week in and week out. And I appreciate you for that. I hope you will rate, review, download, subscribe, and share this episode. It is available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. And also join my community there on YouTube at Ms. Jeanne Sparrow, as well as on Facebook and TikTok. You can use that same handle to find me there. On Instagram and Twitter, you'll find me at JM Sparrow. Please drop by, say hi, leave a comment, question, suggestion, question, whatever it is, drop it on in there. This has been Fearless Authenticity with Jeanne Sparrow. We'll see you again soon.